live. It's Mandy here from the Bubble Hub. Um, I'd like to introduce you to Grace and Josh. They're from the All Wales Parent Forum. I hope I got that right. um, and I'm so privileged to have them come on today and share with us all of the great projects that they've been doing. So if I can hand over to you guys, Grace, it'd be lovely if you wanted to tell us a bit about you. And
yeah, so hello everyone, I'm Grace. I'm the Engagement and Events Project Officer at the All Wales Forum of Parents and Carers of People with Learning Disabilities. Josh, do you want to introduce yourself before I go any further?
Hello, I'm Josh. I'm Project Manager at All Wales Forum.
Yeah, so I don't know if many of you know about us, but we're a national organisation that works across Wales, bringing a national voice and recognition really to parent carers. We were set up now 30 years ago this year by a group of parent carers that were quite concerned with the way services were being delivered and felt they were very outdated really. What we do is we sort of lobby for change at national, regional and local levels. And we sit on a number of boards, a number of groups to ensure that there's always a carer voice being represented, whether that's where decisions are being made, whether that's where policies being written. Yeah, that's kind of an overall of what we do at the organisation. Josh, do you think there's anything I've missed?
No, you summed it up far better than I could. In terms of our work at the moment, we've got like a big piece of work going on, which is our Caring Communities of Change project, which obviously following on from what Grace was describing, our work is looking to explore different alternative offers across transitions, respite and community activity. So the idea is that we work with parents and carers and other professionals across the network to really sort of explore what's out there and see what different looks like, and then maybe pilot some of those, those different ideas to be able to kind of share the learning, share people's journeys and sort of recognize that there are different ways of doing things. So we're coming to the end of our first year now of the project in March, and then we've got another 2 years to go then. So we're hoping in year 2 that we really start getting into the kind of the meat of stuff and get to try some of these ideas with parents and carers and see how they work, really, see how they work some. And then use that kind of what we learn from those little pilot projects that we've got going on to be able to kind of show people what different looks like, what difference looks like, and hopefully in year 3 of the project grow some of those little ideas.
Yeah, it's also worth saying that those 3 project strands, transition, respite and community activity, they've been identified over a number of years as sort of the 3 almost pressing concerns and something that parents have told us that, again, those traditional services aren't necessarily working for everybody. They do work for some people, but it's about those choices and moving away from one size fits all approach, and giving families that that choice, over choice and control over what they want and what's going to meet their needs, really.
I think some of the things that perhaps people might not know, and me as a carer wouldn't know, is behind the scenes you guys have been doing a lot of work even before the project started. I remember, because I was sort of part of one of the early groups, and you get a varied group of people, of professionals and carers that come together, and very often it's what matters to them. And from what I'm hearing, it's you've been really listening really hard as to what's mattered to the carers and to the people. And as a carer that's been involved, sometimes carers just don't see some of these sides that I'm seeing, and I think that's what I'm trying to do with the podcast, is just sort of really shine a light on the fantastic work that's going on and bring it down to people, so they can really see that they've really been listened to, with some of the projects that have been put on, because the topics that you got, I think, are probably top priority for most carers, especially when I speak to them anyway.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. We know that families and parent carers, especially probably now more than ever, are constantly being asked to fill out this survey. Please help us with this consultation. But often there's a gap of then that information being relayed back as to what difference it really makes being, you know, parents telling us this information. Because if we didn't, you know, have all that information a few years ago, we wouldn't know that these were necessarily the 3 strands that we should work on in the project. So I think it's really important that that information also gets fed back.
And the surveys, I know as a parent carer, the amount of surveys, I've been to something today, and it's like the surveys you've got to do. But I perhaps even again don't think the carers really realise the impact that filling the forms, and they are tedious to do, I've got to say, but the impact that they can have to the projects like you guys are doing are just, you know, because that's the voices, isn't it? Really, of the carers.
Big part of what we try to do is, it's a really good point, Mandy, because a big part of what we try to do is try and recognize what people are giving us, and what they're telling us, and trying to kind of feed that back to people that it is making a difference, and all these kind of things. I know the last 12 or so months have been very, very difficult for an awful lot of people for obvious reasons. And it's more than ever, it's really important for parents and carers to share their voices about what matters to them and what would make a difference. So we have oddly a really weird opportunity to kind of think about what we want to see in the future collectively and how we want to do things differently. So that's kind of a big focus of this particular project, of how we do that and how we approach that in the next sort of few years.
So I'm thinking about, because there isn't just one way of collecting the voices, is there? And I'm just going back to what the chat we just had about dyslexia. And for me, my pet hate is doing paperwork. Is there other ways anybody could get involved if they wanted to, as perhaps a parent carer? Because I'd imagine the forums often parents can come to.
We have a few ways actually. I mean, in normal times, we would have, we'd sort of be traveling around Wales, and we'd be going to people and having a cup of tea and having a chat and seeing what matters to people and what difference we can collectively make together. The pandemic's changed that a little bit, but what it has done is, enabled us to, and others, to use platforms like Zoom, like we're doing today, to have a conversation, have a chat, and have a virtual cup of tea with each other to see what matters and what people would like to do about some of these sort of areas of concern. So we've had a couple of events, and we've got a couple of events coming up. One based in Powys, actually, on the 16th, around transitions. So
I'm so excited about that one. Have you guys watched the Katie Price? Did you watch it?
Do you know, we haven't watched it yet, but I watched her follow-up interview.
It's quite a hard watch.
Yeah,
we were talking about this the other day, and we neither of us have seen it yet. Gwen has seen it, but we haven't seen it just yet.
It's a real interesting watch, and what I found was it actually raised awarenesses that I hadn't even thought about. So one of the topics, I think, was she wants to send him to a certain sort of place that meets his needs, and then there was whole issues around perhaps some of the choices might not be Katie's, it will be the systems, and with the sort of lifestyle that she got, money was there was no relevance to money with some of these decisions. So it was really made me think about myself with a child with quite complex needs. I could be possibly going to be in Katie's position of making these decisions, and because he got behavioural problems as well, not problems but ways of expressing, that created challenges then, and there were some really heartwarming stories on that. It's I'm going to watch it again because it was quite a watch, and really highlighted what I've seen you guys are going to be doing, the transition from school to like college or adulthood.
Yeah, what a group of parents have said to us, because we met with a group after, I think it was the day after the programme was on, a couple of days after, and something that was highlighted was, in that documentary, it's really raised awareness to sort of whoever watched it in the public about how hard that must be for a parent, and And also I think Katie said she was getting loads of trolls saying, oh, you're awful, you're moving your child into care. But this program was like, this, it's not moving into care, it's about what he wants and what he can do to be an independent male himself. And have his life, lead that independent life. And I think that's what people said, it did really well in terms of raising that awareness.
Definitely. And I'd probably like to feel that perhaps there might be a way where a collaborative working keeps coming up for me, I mean, I'd love to hear more about the project, because you're doing a project around that sort of area, aren't you?
Yeah, no, those kind of, one of the strands of those 3 strands is kind of transitions, and we recognise it's a really it can be a really stressful time for a lot of parents and carers, and there are kind of options out there that work for some people, and then there are options that don't work for people. I suppose part of the project is exploring first of all, what the options are, seeing what the different options are for people, and then sort of looking to explore some of those and pilot some of those eventually with parents and carers. And again, being able to share some of that learning with others to see, look, this is an option and it works, and then hopefully be able to grow those in the future. I think the main thing that parents and carers have said to us that they're looking for when it comes to transitions is they feel like their voice is being heard and they have some kind of control over the situation. And going back to saying what you're saying about the Katie Price programme, it's sometimes the voice of the parents and carers isn't heard during that process. It gets lost, and that can make a stressful time particularly stressful, because it's not they feel like they're not being heard or their needs are not being met. So it's worth looking at what else is out there and seeing and working, like you said, working collaboratively with not just parents and carers, but with other charities, with supported living, with sort of the local authorities, just to see what we can do and how we can kind of look at some of these options together.
Yeah, I think it's very often when I go to anything, and if you've got children transitioning, well, of any age, that's really probably one of the top school often is one, but which relates to transition. Transition is always, quite high on the topics of carers. And what I love about you guys is you're really the sharing of the learning, because sometimes you see that sometimes things have been researched and done, and then that gets lost, but you really connect from what I see, connect really well with all the charities and the carers, and I just see even your chat on Facebook is, you're always open to suggestions and to wanting to link and learn new things.
I think it's really important. There's so much great stuff going on across Wales, but often it's not shared. It's shared enough, and especially sort of across regions, across counties, and that's something that, being an all Wales wide organisation, we have the opportunity, I think, to do, and we want to share that learning. The last thing anybody wants to do is duplicate what's going on, because that's not helpful for anybody. And so it's really important that the last year, sort of the first year of this project, we've done really well trying to build those partnerships, build those relationships, work with other organisations for this collective goal. And it's important.
I think the one thing is as well, just to say, is that when we like to think of ourselves as a learning organisation, and open to suggestions all the time of how we kind of improve what we do, and that might be working with the Learning Disability Alliance or the Carers Alliance in terms of some of the national stuff, but also working with grassroots carer-led organisations to see how we best support them. I think one of the things that we look to try and do is, obviously, with that sharing of learning of what works well, and then sometimes what doesn't work so well, just so we can take the learning from that, because it's a really important part, actually, of kind of looking at what doesn't work is a really important part of how we develop, and how we kind of not just as an organisation, but as a parent carer community, of how we how we move things forward.
Because things don't always work, do they? But what I've learned through being part of Credi is the fact that, you know, what was the learning, isn't it? You know, because if we just did everything right all the time, we live in this perfect harmonious world, and we kind of don't, and we kind of learn from the mistakes.
It'd be lovely if we did, but
yeah. Yeah. So what about the respite? Because I know you guys have been busy doing a bit with the respite. What's
yeah, it's fairly similar in all honesty. Like as Grace said, that our kind of first year starting to put the feelers out there to see who might be interested in looking into this, be they parents, carers, professionals, people just interested in the particular bit of work. So we've got a few strands that we're looking at. One is so that the strand is called break from the routine. So, you know, sort of breaking that cycle of routine, which people have become, well, more attuned to at the moment than ever, but for obvious reasons. But the three things that we're looking at are the Respitelity model that Scotland have got, and seeing kind of what works, you know, with that particular model around the flexibility and options, and linking parents and carers up with their local hospitality sector for short or discounted breaks for them. The other one is the Staycation network, which is about looking at pairing parents and carers and families up based on their care needs or their accessibility needs. So, for example, pairing a family up in Anglesey who have similar care needs to a family in Cardiff.
yeah.
I think I've frozen.
You froze.
Froze, but we can hear you.
We can hear you.
His internet's not been great this week.
Oh, bless him.
Josh? No, yeah.
That sounded really excited, the Staycation.
Yeah, definitely. And that's one that's got a bit of a more, you know, a bit more of a challenge practically right now, considering where we're in. But yeah, it definitely sounds quite exciting, especially because geographically, say Anglesey, say Cardiff, they're quite two very different places really, in a sense of one could be a lot more near a coastline, Cardiff a bit more of a built-up city. So yeah, it's exciting, and we've got another follow-up event of that with Scotland to learn a bit more about how they've sort of achieved their model and how it could work in Wales. And that is, I have to look through my diary.
Yeah, and hopefully if when this goes out, we'll drop some links in for you guys, so as they can link in with what you're doing.
Definitely. And that is that's on the 25th of Feb. So yeah, we can let people know. But if they wanted to follow us on our Facebook page, everything gets updated there.
Is Josh back with us? Oh, he's froze again. Oh, technology, hey.
I know, you can't.
So I'm just curious, what because I know as a parent carer myself, respite can mean so many different things to so many different people. What do you hear that people, and I know the services perhaps talk a different language of respite to perhaps what a carer might. What are you hearing that people are classing that respite that would matter to them?
So respite that would matter to them from what we've sort of heard, is around, you know, an option that suits the family. It's at a time, you know, you're not told exactly when you're going to have it. You can sort of choose that time that's flexible to you. Local, often people have been told it would be quite nice to have a local opportunity. Also, I think often traditionally respite has meant you get a break away from your child, whereas now some families are like, no, actually we want a break as a family together somewhere else. It's sort of just, you know, like that respite from your day-to-day life somewhere else. That's sort of what we're hearing around, and you know, essentially the family needs to be at the heart of that decision, and they need to be involved the whole way through. That's sort of what we're hearing.
What were you thinking? Are you back now with us, Josh?
Sorry.
Yeah, it's all right. It's technology for you.
You thought I live out in the sticks, but I don't. I live in Cardiff. It's terrible. It's getting worse. Sorry.
So we're just talking about what you're hearing, that like what, because the word respite can mean so many different things to so many different people, and I'm just wondering what you're hearing as what respite is to the people that that you're hearing from.
From what we've heard so far, and the work that had gone into when we were looking at this project, was it's about flexibility, and it's about, you know, options for parents and carers. So, you know, there will be times where they want a short break, you know, with their loved one, to go away together on a short family holiday or a short break together. But there'll also be times where they want to break on their own, and it's about having more flexibility and more options when it comes to how they do that. So Grace probably told you about around looking at different ways of using direct payments a bit more flexibly to access some of those short breaks.
Oh no, you're now going on to, yeah, good stuff, direct payments, and how, because I've been to some of your or some workshops around direct payments, and I've heard of projects where they've been innovative with the direct payments, haven't they? I don't know if you've got more that you could perhaps say on that you've looked into with the direct payments.
Yeah, sure. So we've got currently we've got a little working group going on up in North Wales, where we had an event a couple of weeks ago, actually, where we spoke to a bunch of parents and carers from North Wales about what really matters to them when it comes to direct payments, what they would like to see. And in that room, we had people that were kind of were parents and carers. We had people that worked for the direct payments team within the local regions. We had local authority people from local authorities, and then we had a couple of partners that we've been talking about who are producing a direct payments toolkit, which is it's a way of parents and carers being able to know what their rights are when it comes to accessing direct payments, but how to make the best possible case when it comes to presenting, you know, the needs assessment to the people who are making decisions. And again, the two kind of underlying themes of everything were flexibility and options. And we recognise that if we're going to look to explore this, we're going to have to work with a lot of people to make it happen, because that's just how it works. And you know, like I said, that eventually we'd like to have some people that have actually tried to do this, and we've learned from that experience, so we can take that learning and share it with anyone else who's interested around Wales about, again, what works and what doesn't work, and how we kind of grow this as a real option for parents and carers to be able to, you know, use direct payments to access short breaks.
Oh, but you froze again, bless you, but we can hear you.
Can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, I'm just really good at being a mime. I can be really still.
I think another aspect of sort of the work we're doing up in North Wales is also about you know, we're talking about that sort of misinformation or that gap, and often if you hear from another parent carer that maybe, let's as an example, got direct payments to purchase a bike, and that's all you hear they got direct payments to purchase a bike. So some parents might be like, oh well, I want to use direct payments to purchase a bike, then why can't I? So it's also about following how somebody got from that A to that
it's
B.
The story, isn't it?
It's the story, yeah. It's that journey that
why that
and how people can confidently feel, you know, the Act says, you know, you should be an equal partner, and how people can feel confident in having that conversation.
Because often I feel, as a parent carer myself, I don't feel that I'm entitled to have it in a way, and often, you know, that sort of feeling of, well, you know, we will do it ourselves, and parent cares are often very independent, you know. Yeah. But also the I learned about direct payments when I went to an actual action group about it, and I think there's a lot of people that kind of don't know what it's about, feels really confusing, and when they get it, often it's sort of suggested the money's going for a certain thing. So it's really nice to hear, you know, one, that perhaps it's an area that is more talked about, so people know what they're entitled to and what they can access, but also that perhaps challenging, you know, creative ways of using that. And I've got a group of carers that really are interested, because they aren't using their direct payments because they can't, because they're in COVID, and then what do they do with this money, because it's kind of, they don't want to lose it. So they're very interested in this, as to perhaps can they come together as a group and do something together. But sometimes people just don't have the ideas, do they, until they come together or see another project that's doing something similar. So it's really exciting stuff.
And I think that goes back to that shared learning, doesn't it? And if you hear about it being done elsewhere, there's no reason why it couldn't be done in another area, or at least, thought about. And Mandy, actually, you mentioned it at the Respitality event, putting on those brave pants, sharing your ideas. You may think they're completely out of this world, but actually, if you cut it all down, why can't it be achievable? And we've touched upon the challenges that COVID's brought, but you've also seen a lot has been successful on very, very short and small and lack of resources.
Has COVID changed your sort of project? Because I know with what I was doing, it was totally flipped on its head. So has it changed now your direction at all, COVID?
Can you still hear me, by the way?
We can hear you, Josh, yeah.
Oh, there we go. I've completely frozen on my own screen. I'm having an absolute IT nightmare. But at least you can still hear me.
We can hear you.
Yeah, no, it's been a bit of a kind of an odd 12 months, I suppose, for the project, because I started the organisation last April, so kind of lockdown working is almost all I've known so far, and obviously that especially at the moment at the start of lockdown, there was priorities changed for a lot of people. And parents and carers in particular, it was not so much about the kind of the bigger picture stuff in the future. At that moment in time, it was about how am I going to deal with the day-to-day and the week-to-week, because things were so up in the air and difficult for a lot of people. I think what has happened is again, it's given people a time to kind of reflect about what they wanted, how they want the future to look for them. And one of the questions that we kind of always ask to people is, if there was one thing you could change about, respite or short breaks, or one thing that you could change to make your life a little bit easier, what would it be?
Oh, bless him. Oh, such a shame. Crucial moment, he's gone.
On that note, he has to disappear.
He has, oh, bless. Yeah, it's really exciting stuff, and around direct payments especially, because it's I don't know, often there can be, and I think it's a bit of a thing where we are in Paris sometimes, we're in a bit of a bowl, and accessing stuff, sometimes there's stuff there, but often it's knowing about it.
Yeah, exactly. It's you're needing that information first, really, isn't it? How can you know if you don't even know what direct payments are? Because also there's also that a lot of misinformation. There's still a lot of people that think direct payments can only be used for a PA, and of course they can be used for a PA, but that's not the only thing. So there's still that information that's not always promoted.
And go back to the COVID, I love to try and share the wins, because I'm all about bringing a bit of positivity. And I know, things are tough, and I'm not going to shine a light and say things are amazing. It's been a tough year for us. It's been, hard and good all at the same time. But I've learned so much, and I think it's for a lot of people, and especially carers. COVID in some ways has helped. It was a bit like I've used this phrase, and I've heard other people say it. Welcome to our world. We've been living locked down for quite a number of years. And what's been lovely is, I know not everybody can get on the internet, but there is opportunities out there. I myself has had many opportunities with being able to access so much on the internet. And I'm a people person. I've got to connect with people. So I'm all for what we've learned in COVID, and taking some of the positives and using them when we're not in COVID, because I'm hoping when we're not in COVID, I still want to Zoom, because I'm always going to connect with the world then as a parent.
I think it's moving forward with the options. and giving people, you know, there's so many different options and platforms now, you know. As soon as we can go back to those physical coffee mornings, oh my gosh, I just want a cup of tea and a cake, you know, and chat to people.
It's nice to be able to give your mum a hug, you know, or
Yeah.
just because, you know, you're naturally, we're people and beings that come together, aren't we? And just want to give each other, you know, we just want to be together. So.
Yeah. But yeah, I completely agree. I think for all its challenges, it's brought COVID that people have just become so resilient, even more so resilient. And I'm just constantly in this job in awe, absolute awe of people like yourselves, just getting on with things, being really involved and keen and excited and interested, which just makes it worthwhile, really, and hoping to sort of create that change.
Is Josh back with us? I think we can hear you. Oh, bless him. So what's next for you guys then? I sort of hear a few of the things that's going on.
Yeah, so we got a few sort of events coming up, like we've mentioned. Josh is unfortunately not here this second, but he could tell you a bit more about where the sort of Respitality is going. And I think there's an event coming up with sort of the Welsh tourism sector, which will be really good. And the transitions, also seeing where that direct payments project's going to go. And you know, like we said, the learning, it's also trying to, we'll still tap into the communities, tap into the groups, speak to more parents, carers. We want to hear people's opinions. We want to hear what they want, their ideas. And putting some of these ideas into action.
That's going to be so exciting, isn't it? You know, when you've heard and you've done the listening and you come, you're right there, Josh.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
What I want is some better internet.
Oh.
It's just been a nightmare. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. We were really interested. You got cut off at a really great point.
Yeah, I've just had to throw my router out to the window.
It was
so I think the point I was trying to make is just that kind of, you know, really people really thinking about what we want. And one of the things we always say is that, you know, a change doesn't have to be a big change to be life changing. You know, so you could have something that is relatively, you know, a small change in your life, but that could have a huge impact on the quality of life and your well-being, your family's well-being. So it's about asking the kind of the almost the little questions that lead to the big change.
And I feel so it's lovely hearing you say that, because you almost hear I can hear the carers' voices coming out, because I was speaking to a carer the other day and all she wanted was half an hour for someone to mind her son so she could have a bath. And I just thought that, you know, and often I keep going, I'm banging on about, a lot of it doesn't have to cost much. Sometimes it's just somebody to talk to.
Yeah. And that is, again, it's a perfect example of that kind of, that could be something life-changing for someone, just having someone there to kind of talk to, who gets it and understands it and provides a bit of kind of a, you know, an emotional support, or someone that, you know, an opportunity for a family to, you know, a little change in the way people do things around something like direct payments could mean that, you know, a group of families could pool their payments to go on holiday together, which could be a life-changing difference for them. And it means the difference between them getting away and enjoying themselves as families and as individuals. But the change is not huge. It's essentially a kind of a more flexible way of using direct payments and what they're there for, really.
Oh, that's great. And Grace was just saying a bit about, so what's next for you guys? And we've already been hearing some of the projects that you've got ongoing. Is there anything more that you think that you want to add to what you're doing next?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're coming into the second year of the project now, which is really exciting because, like I said before, this is where we really want to put some meat on the bones of the conversations what we've had so far, and really start moving that to, let's start like designing these little things together, and let's start trying them, you know. And like I said before, some of them we're hoping they all work, but some of them might not. But actually, it's all good because we can all collectively take that and use them as examples of what can be done when things are done slightly differently. So you know, for the next stage, we are looking for people who might be interested in this particular area of work, or any of those 3 strands that we're talking about. So transitions, respite, or community activity. And we're looking for parents and carers, like I said, to, you know, to might want to think that might be something I would like to try. You know, I would like to get involved in this and first have my voice heard about what matters to me, but then also, you know, try some of these options and see what works and what doesn't. So yeah, that's kind of where we're going next with it over the next
I think this is really empowering, because I'm hearing all of the I hear a lot of the carers' voices in what you're saying, and when this goes out, I think this is really gonna people are going to feel heard, and that was one of the most liberating moments for me, the first time I felt listened to. And even if people can't change it, but that I've been listened to and my voice has been heard. So it's really fab. I think carers are going to feel really, really listened to. So if anyone did want to get involved, what would that look like, and what could they get involved in, and how would they contact you guys?
There's a few ways really. They can call us. All our contact information is on our website, so allwalesforum.org.uk.
Oh no! Rachel has to finish off.
That's it. Just a no. Yeah, so on our website, and there is, you know, a project tab that has a lot more about the Caring Communities of Change project, and also how you can contact us through that. Our website also has regular updates on currently what's happening with the pandemic, what it means for carers, the vaccine. We've got a facts and questions page about the vaccine, because I know it's still very unclear as to what groups everybody sits in. So
that's a big topic at the moment, isn't it? COVID, vaccine, how people can get it, when they can get it, and feeling safe, isn't it? We haven't really touched on that at all, really, but it is at the forefront of everybody's, isn't it?
Absolutely. We got Facebook, which is at All Wales Forum, which again we regularly post sort of any upcoming events, any information that we think carers should know about, and our Twitter page, and of course the phone was at the end of the phone if anyone wants to ring. Again,
we forget about the phone, don't we?
I know. But yeah, we've got the phone, we've got Zoom, we've got any way, just not in face to face right now. But hopefully when's all better, we can be up at the Metropole again and have a cup of tea. Definitely.
Yeah. Is there anything else you guys would like to add? Thank you so much for coming on. I've so enjoyed this.
Oh no, thanks for having us. Just if anybody's heard this and has any ideas, even if, you know, like Josh said, may not have the time, have the capacity to get involved, may think, well, this is a lot, but you might have something to say, you might have a view, you might, you know, this is what I'd like to see in Powers with respite or transitions. Just let us know, you know, any of those ways to get in contact. We'd love to hear it. Any view, any opinion really matters to us and will help build the project. And you know, we want it to be led by parent carers. The voice of parent carers is how this project moves forward. It's not set by us, it's not set by Welsh Government, it's, you know, those
purely
guys
driven
on the
by
ground.
parent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are you there, Josh?
Yeah.
It's a bit like a seance, isn't it, really?
Yeah.
I so look forward to this going out.
I would just put a picture of me there, I think.
I'll have to get techie.
Yeah.
So we were just sort of, did you want to finish what you were saying, Josh?
No, yeah, but I'm not sure what Grace has followed on, but yeah, you can go to our website. There's information there how you can get involved. I mean, you can contribute as much or as little as you would like. I think that's the most important thing to say. No matter what you give us, you know, in terms of your voice and your opinions, we will take that into account. We will use it. Like I said, if there are any parents and carers that really would like to give this a real good go and explore these options with us and try some of these options with us, then please get in contact, because we'd love to hear from you.
I love that Grace said you can still pick up the phone, you know.
Yeah.
Definitely.
The phone's still an option.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, Josh, before we wind down?
No, a very strongly worded kind of phone call to my internet provider. No, thanks for having us. It's been lovely.
I've really enjoyed this. We could have talked about so much other stuff. You guys are doing such amazing work. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, well, thank you, and we continue to be sort of connected with Credi and everything that's happening up in Powys. And yeah, we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you guys real soon. So what is the next step? Have you got I think you've got some workshops coming. Are they workshops or action forum groups or?
Yeah, like forum little conversations. So we've got a few coming up that might be interested people. So we've got a conversation in Powys on the 16th around transitions.
Yeah.
So there we're going to hear from a couple of organisations who will do alternative transitions for home to independent living for people. And then on the 18th, we've got a conversation about the Staycation network. So starting off a conversation about that. And then obviously we've got the follow-up. We had an event back in November around Respite. So one of the things that parents and carers and professionals said that we needed to do next was link up with the community and tourism sector. So we have got an initial chat with Wales Cooperative Centre and a few people representing the community tourism sector. And that's next week, the 12th of February. Again, they're all on our website, so if anyone wants to,
I'll try and put a link on there for you when this goes out, so as they can just link straight in with you guys.
Lovely.
Yeah, thank you so much. I really look forward to seeing you guys again. Hopefully, I do you guys justice when I put it out.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure you will. Thank you.
And it's really nice to hear the carers' voices in you guys. It's really been a privilege today. And I look forward to meeting up with you guys again.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you, Mandy. Take care.